and watched the state playoffs to see how they did. Sure enough, they wiped out all 3 games by more than 10 points, and they're floated away another state championship. So Capon was a monster that was used to playing at a high level every week. We couldn't keep up. For half a game, we were right there with them, but at some point, they go, this is just another game. We're sweating and going, we've never been this tired before. Can we keep it up? And I watched the same things happen, Danny, when I've seen my kids go play some super teams from this area, and they just run out of juice, just like we did.
Right.
They're not used to doing it every down. And Miege is just going, yeah, well, game's close, no big deal. Why wouldn't it be? And then they pull away and win. So Capon kept me from doing it, but we made it into the playoffs. We won our league. It was so much fun because, Danny, when I went to Goddard, they'd won a state championship in basketball in like 64. Ken Koenig's team was undefeated, number 1 in state, about 74, but lost in the finals to Winfield. But there was no success, not consistent success. It was just a little here, a little there. Starting my sophomore year, we changed it all around. I mean, Goddard became the power, and no one wanted us. They're hoping that we wouldn't be in the league anymore. It's like, why does Goddard win everything? They're the school closest to Wichita, or that kind of stuff. And it really started my sophomore year by accident with that senior class. But I'm proud to say that we rolled through. And when you think about my high school career and the sports I played, I loved all 3 sports. So the best way to describe the experience really came after high school was over. And I think it was early in June that the Wichita Eagle, who, like I said, really got into the high school sports, came out and said that I'd been named the Kansas High School Male Athlete of the Year for the state. And, I couldn't even get my arms around that. Like, how did I ever – wouldn't even consider myself in competition, because just the 6A schools that were around where I grew up, the Wichita schools, you kept giving them all the respect in the world. Like, they have to be a lot better than us. And there's athletes all over the place. And then you get in the Shawnee Mission schools and what was going on in Kansas City, which was a million miles away from me, except for the Royals. I knew about the Royals
Right.
and Chiefs, but I didn't really. So when I got that, I was so surprised and honored. And it was one of those things where I hope that all the guys that I played with at Goddard realized it was just about us, because I wasn't great at any of the sports, but I was pretty good at all of them.
And the teams
were really good all the way across the board. We won together a lot. So it was after high school was over, so it's not as if I got to ask my buddies, hey, what do you think about that? We were kind of all moving on our way at that time. So in my mind, at least, I hope that they're proud that they had a lot to do with it. I know I thought that, and it was one of the most amazing honors that I ever received.
Let's take a time out here, and we'll get into Stan's journey to Kansas State, which has obviously been a defining portion of his life during those times and subsequently, to say the least. We'll probably visit with the broadcasting years in an upcoming edition of Kansas City Profiles presented by Easton Roofing. More with Stan straight ahead.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Before you spend your time and money going after an MBA, ask yourself why. Is it so you can tell people you got your MBA? So you can add a line to your CV? So you can call it a CV instead of a resume? Truth is, any MBA will do that. On the other hand, if your goal is to learn how to successfully manage and grow a business with real-world insights from experienced professionals, well, consider getting your MBA from Park University. Our low student-to-teacher ratio gives you personalized attention, and our face-to-face and online classes offered in 8-week terms are designed with working professionals like you in mind. No wonder the Kansas City Business Journal ranks Park University as the top MBA program in the area. Classes begin June 10th at all 4 KC area locations: Parkville, Downtown, Independence, and Lenexa. Visit park.edu to get started.
I was duped, and I recommend you be next. For better or worse, the ultra-realistic impression of me sits now in my wife's office to spook her on a daily basis. So what is Doob? D-O-O-B. It's the keepsake of a lifetime, a 3D-generated, incredibly lifelike figurine. 66 cameras take an image at exactly the same moment in any pose, and state-of-the-art 3D technology transforms that into exact replicas of you, anyone you know or love, a pet, whomever is close to your heart. Create lifetime memories with a Doob. Visit their Facebook page at Doob 3D Kansas City, or better yet, see their incredible creations. Visit their location down on the plaza in the heart of it at 231 West 47th Street in KC Mo. Doob. Be next. Sumner One is the company to make your office maximize efficiency. Their family of companies make up one of the largest independent dealers of office technology in the Midwest. They are proud to bring the best service and technology to top companies across the region. Sumner One can help your organization run more smoothly than ever. Sumner One printers, copiers, MFPs, managed print services, document management, infrastructure design, IT services, disaster recovery, and business continuity. Welcome to the one place where everything works. For more information, call Carl Little at 913-752-2256. Looking for a truly unique escape from your normal entertainment or corporate team-building regimen? Stay tuned for an exclusive offer only for Reasonably Irreverent listeners. I'm excited to tell you about an extraordinary destination, the Exit Room, located in the heart of beautiful downtown Lee Summit. The Exit Room is a distinctive entertainment option that offers a cool alternative to the normal couples night out, family get-togethers, and corporate team-building events. The Exit Room is a one-of-a-kind boutique escape room catering to special occasions and corporate team-building events and is unmatched in the Kansas City metro. With 5 individually designed and varied escape room adventures, your party or employees can unplug from their electronic world, interact with one another, match wits, and ultimately escape the humdrum of the ordinary. The Exit Room adventures cross decades and centuries and create fascinating fun. I know the owners well. They are local folks, their staff is warm and friendly, their lobby is inviting and beautiful, and their adventures are award-winning. Check online. There are over 1,000 reviews, and note that they are a rare 5-star ranked business. Visit their website and Facebook page, and any of my listeners who books online at theexitroomkc.com using the promo code Clinkscale19 gets 10% off any ticket purchase. The Exit Room in Lee Summit. Unplug, interact, and escape. Continuing on Kansas City Profiles, presented by Easton Roofing, and our profile, Part 1, with Stan Weber. And Stan, you obviously are in a position where you become the male athlete of the year. You're playing all sports, but I assume at this point football is the focus as far as recruitment and a thought about continuing your sports. Or was there ever any thought of being more than a one-sport player?
Definitely there was a thought. A lot of questions back then. Could you possibly do that? When I was being recruited, K-State did everything right, and they really had an amazing ability. George Wallsted's a great recruiter. Jeff Smith was a star player that went to Nebraska. He was recruiting him on the east side of Wichita in the mornings and driving across town to Goddard in the afternoons. He was there all the time and did an amazing job of understanding what made me tick. And he could tell that I had a consideration. We were playing basketball at that time. You know, we're ranked number 1 in the state. And he's like, he may consider playing 2 sports. I wonder if he'd like it. Ask me. I said yes. So he goes, when you come to your official recruiting visit, I want you to be able to spend time with Coach Jack Hartman at K-State. And sure enough, Lon Kruger was the assistant coach and spent a lot of time with me. Jack didn't spend that much time with me because, as I understood, recruiting's not his big thing.
Right.
Once you get here, I'll coach you up, but whatever. So, he said hi, sat behind the bench at a K-State basketball game because a football player gets recruited with their official visit in basketball season. So they said, you can consider it, but there was really no warmth from Jack Hartman. One of the funniest things that happened in one of those snap your fingers like, oh, I wish I would have known this. Danny, when I was graduating from K-State, I finished an 84 football season. I was getting my master's degree. So sometime in the spring of or summer of 85, I was still in town in Manhattan, and Mark Jansen, I believe, the writer there, longtime writer, wrote an article, and he asked Jack Hartman, is it possible for a player today with the college situation the way it is and the intensity, back then they thought it was a lot of intensity, the focus that we see, can a player actually play 2 sports? And Jack Hartman's quoted, and he says, I think Ed Neely, our power forward, I think he could have been a good tight end. And Stan Weber could have played basketball for us. I was like, why didn't you ever say it? Because when I went to K-State, we went to the only bowl game ever in 1982, but we weren't dominant. We were trying to win 4 games out of 11. Try maybe to get to a winning season. We did it once in my 5 years. We weren't knocking it dead in football, but in basketball, Elite Eight,
Right.
Sweet 16. Tim Jankovich graduated after 2 years. Maybe that third year, if I'd have worked at it,
Right.
not a starter. I don't think I was ever good enough to be a starter, but go out there and play 12 minutes a game, be a defensive specialist, don't make mistakes. And I'm not going to limit myself. Maybe I could have done some things, but when he said that after it was over, I was going, whoa, I wish I would have known that. So I can state maybe that I could have played other sports, but, I was pretty focused that I'd be lucky even to play football. And I did care about the academic side, and the balance of being a student athlete really meant a lot to me. So I was fine playing football. Didn't ever do anything but support the basketball team and go to every minute of every home game when I was in college and love it. And we ate with those guys at training table. Rolando Blackman, still see him and enjoy being around him. He was a star when I was there at first at K-State. So it was pretty much football with a little small hint that basketball could be there. But I never said – no one came to and recruited me from – a lower level like FCS and said, how about both? I didn't have that presented to me. Everyone just decided, we know he's going to play football.
Right.
And it's kind of funny how that group mentality, no one asked me.
Right.
And the
Exactly.
K-State guy at least introduced K-State basketball to me. But I was focused. I could tell Jack Harmon was, whatever. We'll do it if it helps you sign him for football. I wish I would have known what was in his heart, or I would have played two sports. I wish I could have.
But you grew up thinking more about playing for Kansas, which might seem surprising.
Yeah, the reason why, there's a couple reasons why. My parents didn't go to college. When you live in Wichita, you root for everything for the state. You got a chip on your shoulder. So Wichita State basketball, Missouri Valley Conference, even football was played back then. We would root for Wichita State. K-State comes on TV. Didn't happen that often. We always rooted for them. And then you had Kansas as well. But Mr. Larry Welch, who ended up retiring, he now lives in Lawrence, but he ended up retiring, he and his wife, and he was the head of the KBI when he finished his career. He was his FBI in Wichita. He lived in Goddard. He was my Little League coach. My first Little League basketball coach. My first Little League baseball coach was Larry Welch, and his son Lanny was my age. They lived in Goddard. Almost no one of my friends lived in Goddard. So you can imagine if you had any reason to hang out in town between school functions, where would we go? Over their house. So they were a big influence on our life. They loved sports. He was a leader in the community. Mr. Welch, the Welches were awesome. Guess what? Season ticket holders for KU football. Loved KU everything. So I actually was taken by them 1 or 2 times every year to games. So I watched David James play a little bit. I watched Nolan Cromwell play a lot.
Right.
And I was there. So I slept at the KU fraternity with his older brother. It was a ton of KU. But then I have another friend that was really into K-State as well. And surprisingly, now that we know where I ended up, the first football game that I went to outside of Wichita State, which I don't count that, the first big-time football game I went to was at K-State. Steve Grogan was the quarterback, who ended up being a New England Patriot and played in the Super Bowl. He was playing against Kansas. So I actually watched my first real game at K-State, but I went to tons of KU games. I'd mentioned Ken Canings in earlier comments, and Ken Canings was such a great friend of mine, lived a mile away from me when he went to Goddard, and he ended up being a KU star. So I went over to his house, and I said, I've grown up, I know a lot about KU. I've been around it. I know all the cheers and how they work. You're at KU. Can you please help me with something? Because I'm being recruited right now by 4 schools that it's kind of focused in, that these are the 4 schools that are really interested in me, offer me a scholarship that I also am going to take official visits to and that type of thing. KU was obviously one of them with Don Fambro. John Hadel was the quarterback's coach. K-State was just killing it, doing everything right in recruiting. And reading my mind saying, we need someone like you. We need not just your athleticism, which is fine. We need your leadership. We need your demand that you have to win and you'll fight through stuff. And they just, like they said, everything that mattered to me, they were telling me that. It was just perfect. K-State was perfect. And I loved so much about K-State. But then I had Pat Dye recruiting me at Wyoming. And Pat Dye was there only 1 year. He was recruiting me before he got there. 1980 football season, and then he went and became the famous Auburn coach with Bo Jackson. But they ran the wishbone, which the offense fit me like a glove. And he goes, we're recruiting nationally. We're coming new to Wyoming. We don't have a wishbone quarterback. You come here, you will start. And I was like, he is not just saying that. I know. We watch film in my house on the wall. We joke about me watching film. We were watching film like he was at East Carolina moving because this is what we do. I knew the whole offense and everything. I mean, this is awesome, but I don't really want to